Hello, my most agreeable art students, and welcome to week 3 of our distance learning project, Art Lessons. Today's project is a really cool form of art that's actually a mathematical element as well. This is called a tessellation, and as you can see, a tessellation completely fills a plane or paper or surface that you're drawing on with the same shape repeated over and over. They are such that they can be touching on all sides without any overlapping, and then there are also no gaps. And that's what makes a tessellation. So today I'm going to teach you how to make your own tessellation using a shape that you make. Let's talk about our supplies we need. You're probably going to want some crayons or markers because, let's be honest, it looks way cool when it's colored. You might want a ruler, a pencil, you'll need scissors and tape, and also if you have something like a cereal box to cut, that's going to work a lot better for you than paper. You can use plain white paper if you don't have something thicker around, but if you have an old birthday card or some thicker paper, it'll work better for you because it will be easier to trace. But before you go cutting anything, check and make sure with your folks that it's okay that you cut into that. I just used an old cereal box that we were done with, and I cut a piece about this big to work with. And then I cut it into the shape I wanted. So let's talk about what a tessellation can do and how you can make it. Here are a couple of forms of tessellation. This one is called a translation, and it means that the shape just slides on down the row and you trace it over and over and over and over. And let me show you the shape I used for that. That's this one. There it is. And then we just pick it up once we trace it, slide it down and line it up, trace it again over and over, and then to make more rows, we could come down here and do it over and over again and fill the entire paper with a translation of this shape. Another thing we can do with tessellations is called a rotation. I made this removable to work here. Let's see where it went. There it was. A rotation is where you take your shape and then you spin it to fit back into the new place. I think this one spins this way. There we go. It's spinning at this point, and it keeps lining up with itself every time we spin it. And then, of course, we could go ahead and start a new rotation down here, spinning and spinning and tracing to fill the whole page. So a rotation is spinning the object to form the tessellation. Those are the two types of tessellation I'm going to talk about today. And now let's look at how you can actually make the shape. So starting with a piece like this, I'm going to get a nice clean surface to look at. Tessellations can be made from any polygons that have up to 6 sides. So I'm starting with a square, and I'm going to be cutting an irregular polygon. Now what you need to remember is every time you cut, you can see where I've cut into this rectangle, you can't lose that information. In order to make it match up with the next shape in line, we have to save these pieces and we have to reattach them. So what I did on the first one is I took this piece from where I cut it and I simply moved it straight over to the other side. I just picked it up and attached it to the other side. Now I can trace that shape And then when I pick it up and slide it in my translation, then it fits right in there. And the reason it fits is because if you were to think of this as the rectangle, from before, then you can see that this flap is the piece that came right off of that rectangle, and that's why it fits there. The other way that I did was to take this piece from this side of the rectangle, and then I moved it, I spun it at this point all the way around until the flat sides lined up with each other. I know my hand's in the way, I'm sorry. I'll move in just a second here. And I lined up the points and the flat edges, and this is the shape that I got. So that when I trace it, then I can spin it and line up those pieces that go together. And of course, if you don't trace precisely, your edges might not quite line up. But you can sort of fudge it. There we go. All right, so cutting your own tessellation is as simple as taking a rectangle, choosing an area to cut off, and then choosing how to reattach it. Now, if you reattach it straight to the other side, you're going to be making a translation where you trace, slide, trace, slide. If you spin it and reattach it where a corner is still touching where it used to be, then I think it would be accurate to say you'd be making a rotation. So you need to play with that and figure out how they fit together. But to start, the simplest way I found was to just pop this to the other side. Don't forget to tape it there. And then try your slide tessellation. Now, a cool thing that I found when I made this rotation, this made me think of 4 boxes to write things in, 4 little speech bubbles. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to make one of these in some kind of a rotation tessellation, and then think of someone that you want to encourage and write some neat, encouraging words to that person. Maybe it's something that you really like about them, or something that is an uplifting, encouraging word, or maybe a Bible verse. And you could ask your folks to help you and stick that in the mail. Send it to somebody that you haven't seen for a while, or maybe there's somebody that you know of that can't really get out and can't see their family. Maybe some widows and widowers or elderly folks. There's a thought for you in a way to use this art project as an encouragement to somebody else. And of course, if you add that color on there, that's really going to brighten up somebody's day. So, just to recap, tessellations cover the whole plane, the whole paper. They don't need to overlap, and they don't leave any gaps. And we have slide or translation and spin or rotation as 2 different ways that you can make tessellations. And don't forget that you can't lose any of that material. Once you trim it, you need to choose somewhere to stick it back on. Well, I can't wait to see the tessellations you come up with. Don't forget to take a picture and Let me know how it went for you. Also, feel free to comment if there are any questions, something needs to be explained a little more clearly. Let me know how I can help you to make this cool math and art project.